most pragmatic approaches? What's the best approaches for integrating smart technologies in legacy systems? I know you mentioned AI, a little tension point there for in terms of energy use, but would love to hear your reflections on that.
Yeah, I think so, best practices. So again, I think one of the major failure modes we see are companies trying to do the transformation all at once. You really need to look at it in a piecemeal fashion. Don't try to eat the elephant out at once, so to speak. So identify what processes are most critical, maybe which processes where you have the most opportunity for advancement and the best potential for return on investment. And a lot of those times it's going to be your floor supervisors, your floor employees who will have some insights as to what process are causing us the most hassle, taking the most labor for the little return, or causing the most errors in the process, right? And then, once you have those projects outlined, prioritizing them by, on a two by two matrix, okay, level of complexity from, most complex to least, and then ROI, and you want to go for that upper quadrant, right? What are the ones that maybe have the least complexity to implement and have the best payback periods? And those are the great ways to, you pitch that product to management. You execute cleanly on that. You get buy-in both from senior leadership and the ground floor, and that's how you can really start a good digital transformation strategy or program in place.
I think the thing that really sounds like important there, and the thing you've emphasized so many times, and I see like the dual levers, right, is on the factory floor. What's happening on the factory, and who are the people, who are your floor employees? So starting with that particular segment, over the past decade, a few decades, we've seen manufacturing has generally become less attractive a sector to new graduates versus tech, right, or other types of professional services. We need these people on the floor to do this work in the trenches. How do we reverse this trend that we are facing?
Yeah, I think it's a challenging problem, but I think we're at a great kind of time and inflection point, if you will, to address it, right? So first off, you mentioned AI, and obviously there are the issues with power and energy draw that AI brings. Happy to discuss that. We probably will. I'm guessing it'll come up in some of the Q&A, right? But with the advent of machine learning, new technologies, clean industrial transformation, a lot of people coming out of school seem to think, think of a factory and think of a dirty, dusty environment. And that's still the case in some, production facilities, but there's a lot of exciting change happening in manufacturing, digitization, again, machine learning, predictive maintenance, clean technologies like Sophie was speaking to, such as arc furnace in recycled aluminum or green steel. So we need to be better as companies, as engineers, as leaders about putting these new advancements technologies in the spotlight and really highlighting them and hammering them home and showing, new graduates, hey, technology, manufacturing is on cutting edge. Manufacturing and tech are merging, right? And this is a new and exciting space to be. So I think that can really help to attract new graduates, attract new talent. And then also, it's again, and I know we mentioned people, I know you called it out before, but if we do a better job of, incorporating the view from the plant floor, it's so easy as managers or strategists to see AI and get, attracted by these buzzwords. But listening to the employees on the shop floor as to where the real problems are and attack those problems first, that builds a happier employee base. You get employees talking about and invested in the company, and that attracts more talent to your organization as well.
I couldn't agree more. And I think when we're speaking to, our audience, all of whom are obviously sustainability leaning, I think it's important to emphasize the fact that those roles and those opportunities exist in manufacturing to really affect change and be a part of this clean industrial revolution. So in 2026, how are leading manufacturers analytically tracking energy and greenhouse gas impacts across their entire supply chain to meet these transformation goals? What are you seeing from your kind of neck of the woods?
It's a little tricky, right? Because when you're looking at your supply chain, you can control your own processes and put in monitors and sensors and digitally connected systems. You can only do so much to control your supply chain, but there are steps you can take, right? So Schneider Electric, for example, we have a program where it's the Carbon Net Zero program where we work with our suppliers to help first upskill them on the value props of sustainability, right? Again, not just for the planet. We're not just out here doing it to be green. That is a great value prop, and it also helps to attract talent. But it also helps us to be more cost efficient, and it can help our suppliers to be more cost efficient too, right? So showing them what type of projects on the plant floor are most likely to bring energy savings or help with reduce resource waste. And then working with them to help get tracking systems in place. There's no one automated system, but it doesn't mean we have to do it through just Excel either, right? So in our case, we do have ERP systems with our top suppliers where we can share data. With confidential proprietary information being shielded, but still bringing over the key information to see carbon product or carbon footprint. It's not with every supplier. We're working to scale that right. But I think that the key points are having the vision defined of where you're trying to go, selling your supply chain on, what are the value points and why they should buy in, and then identifying those suppliers that have the most to gain from implementing these initiatives and identifying those who are also the most bought in, and then you can partner with the best to enact that change.
Yeah, it's that commitment to that high level, high touch engagement over time. I think that's really powerful and
Mhm.
requires visionary leadership and
Not easy, but
requires,
it's definitely
yeah,
worth it both for the business and the planet.